My name is Dick Ulbrich, Vice Chairman of Ulbrich Stainless Steels and Special Metals. Welcome to the third episode of the Ulbrich Way. Now I would like to expose you to Ulbrich Wire, which is located in North Haven, Connecticut.
Welcome to the Ulbrich Way, a training video series of Ulbrich Stainless Steels and Special Metals Incorporated. This series is aimed at helping you understand the ideas that drive your company in its future direction. At the end of this video presentation, your session leader will conduct a short discussion in which you can get any questions answered. Right now, all you have to do is watch and listen.
We had no intention of expanding our product line back in the 60s. It probably never entered our minds back then because we had a fledgling organization and very limited capital, and we had a long way to go with strip. So to get involved in another product line was far from our minds. However, our customers were demanding a quality product in narrow strip. You see, when we slit stainless steel to a narrow, in fact, this is a piece of slit strip before it goes into our knives. I'm talking about our strip product now, not wire. Before it goes to our rotary knives to slit the strip into narrow strands, as you can see, the strands start going every which way. They're cambered, they have a sharp burr, and they're hard to control. So when we wind these individual strands up onto a recoiler in our slitting department, we typically, and we still do this by the way for small orders, we typically make a package like this. See, it's ribbon, or rather it's a layer wound. Here's the end tied down, so you can see that it's the same item, but this coil probably weighs 4 or 5 pounds. And to us, this is a big coil in strip for a small cross-section like this. Well, for customers that are interested in getting into production runs, you can imagine the downtime that they must have in putting this on their payoff reels and feeding in this coil of several hundred feet. And then when they get to the end, they have to stop and refeed in the new coil. Well, the customers years ago asked if there's some way that we could give them large continuous coils. Well, when we were still only in the strip business, we said, well, the only way we can do it is to take these individual strands and butt weld them together. But then these coils became too large in diameter, so we had to traverse wind them, such as on a fishing reel. And that was fine. The package looked good going out, but still, when the customers paid off this traverse wound bundle of strands that were welded together, they still had cambered strip, they still had burr, or at least not perfect edges, and now worse, they had welds to contend with, which metallurgically changes the composition in that area, so they had to choose to bypass the welds or cut them out or whatever. So my father realized back in the late 60s, why don't we buy a coil of round wire? And at that time, I believe they were available up to about 300 pounds, and put them through a rolling mill. And by that time, we knew something about rolling mills, certainly, and end up with a flat wire product. And as you can imagine, putting a round wire between two steel rolls, the product will come out flat with natural round edges. And that's what we did, and that was the beginning of our wire business. Here just a few samples. This is a windshield wiper blade, obviously, and there's a strengthening rib in back of the blade that's made out of flat wire. Just a natural round edge, an eyeglass frame, cable wrap. That's electrical cable that's buried, and the wrap is flat wire. In this case, it's Monel is the alloy, and it's used to protect the cable from the elements and from rodents. Today, Ulbrich Wire produces over 3 million pounds annually and over 2,000 various products that service many fields in the aerospace, medical, electrical, chemical fields, as well as various consumer products. And even though you won't see any consumer products on our shipping dock, and what you will see, as I said previously, were coils of steel such as these. The fact is that I'm sure you do come into contact probably on a daily basis with products made from Ulbrich Wire.
At Ulbrich Wire, we have 3 distinct product lines: round wire, flat wire, and a rolled shaped wire. We produce all 3 of these products out of a variety of materials, including stainless steel, cobalt alloys, nickel and its alloys, titanium, and nickel titanium called nitinol. At Ulbrich Wire, all of our product starts out in this form, which is rod coil. In the case of round wire, we will take this product, draw it down, anneal it, and then in most cases draw it to the customer's final specification. For flat wire, we'll also take this product, do a series of drawing and annealing cycles, and then send it to the flat mill, in which case it is flattened and annealed and then flattened to the customer's final specification.
The wire is round when I get it. I flatten it by sending it through this machine, which is called Tech 6. This machine runs at an average speed of between 600 and 750 feet a minute. We can produce flat wire with the dimensions of 7 thousandths of an inch thickness and widths ranging from 50 to 210 thousandths of an inch. Our maximum thickness for flat wire is 250 thousandths and widths ranging from 250 to 875 thousandths of an inch. The maximum width for flat wire is 0.35 to 1 inch.
After the wire has been flattened, I take the coil and run it through these rolls to give it a shape. Then we send it to the furnace to be annealed before we do the last pass according to the customer's specs. Our shape wire dimensions are 0.24 square by ½ inch half round.
When we receive merchandise or wire from the back room or from the rolling, it's worked, hardened, and it has to be annealed. We then send it through the furnace here at a rate that our temperature goes up to 2200 degrees Fahrenheit. And what this does is it softens the wire so it can be worked at another operation. We can go 100 feet per minute, and in turn we do get 2 or 3 coils that have to be annealed again before it can go back out towards the manufacturer.
At Ulbrich Wire, we put together a new products team. This team is made up of managers from all the departments within the company, including manufacturing, technical services, quality, and marketing. We get together on a weekly basis to discuss any new products that we're currently developing, working on with customers, what the status of the orders that we currently have in the system are, what are some of the details of new orders that we're looking at, and also review the orders that we've shipped to customers to make sure that everything from a production standpoint to a quality standpoint, it meets the customer's expectation. One example of a success story that came from this collaboration is the spiral wound gasket market. In this case, the customer was buying product in strip form and shearing it and grinding it and doing a lot of excess work. We in turn suggested that they use shaped wire from Ulbrich wire, and which reduced significantly the amount of time that it took for them to produce the product. It also reduced the amount of inventory that they had to carry, and in essence brought down their costs and increased their responsiveness to their customers. And it really revolutionized that market and the manufacturing processes within that market. This is an example of a product that Ulbrich supplies to the consumer industry. It's a blender blade application, and we are the world's leading supplier of blender blade product. It's a shaped wire, alloy 304. We supply it to Mexico and also in the US and overseas. This is another application, but in this case, this is a well screen material. It goes into an industrial application. It is made from alloys 304 and 316L. We supply a variety of customers this material. It's made of two components. The first is a round wire, and the other is a shaped wire that is called a wedge wire. It looks similar to a wedge. This goes into wells, ground wells, from which water is extracted and the solids are kept out by the screen. This is a finished product that is supplied to the automotive industry from piston ring manufacturers. In this case, alloy 410 stainless steel is supplied in a flat wire condition to the piston ring manufacturers, and they in turn use it for a divider in the piston ring assembly.
I direct the sales effort here at Ulbrich Wire. I coordinate the order process from the time the initial call is taken from the customer until the time we ship the product from our door. I'd like to show you some of the products that we make. One of the products we make here at Ulbrich Wire is the headband used in headsets. This item is primarily made out of 302, 304, or 420 stainless, depending on the end user. This product is produced with some temper to retain the shape of the headband. Perhaps you've seen it worn by coaches on the sidelines of the last football game you've watched. This is another item that we produce here at Ulbrich Wire. We produce the heat dissipator strips on this industrial light bulb. This item started again as round wire and was rolled flat to 010 by 250. We can produce a matte finish, a polish finish, a brush finish, or a Scotch-Brite finish. And one of those examples is here on this pen clip. This is an example of a matte finish. Sales receives a lot of support from other departments here at Ulbrich Wire. We receive support from our technical services director and our quality assurance manager, who can assist customers in selecting the alloys and the shapes they need those alloys in. They can put together drawings and prints for customers' special shapes.
Tech services at Ulbrich Wire has three main functions. One, the first thing is we review customer orders as they're entered by our sales department to make sure that they're complete, accurate. We also apply the specifications to an order. Our second main function is to write the processes that ultimately produce the final product for the customer. And our third function is to do the final inspection and testing. Okay, one of the tests that we perform is a tensile test. That determines how strong the material is, when it's going to fail. It's very important to our customers that they know that. What we're doing here is we're plotting the yield strength. It's a stress strain curve, and it's going to tell us when the material reaches a point in its deformation and it won't go back to its original shape. I do have to take the extensometer off so that when the sample does break, we don't damage it in any way. So we do have the stress strain curve. We're looking at the load. It should fail pretty soon. You can see that it's not moving at all, so it's on its way to failure right now. And that's the end of the test. Then we read the load, and you can see that it broke at 6,640 pounds. And you can see that here in the sample, it broke. From that, knowing the gauge, the width, we calculate the cross-sectional area. And from that, we can determine the tensile strength of the material, the strength at which it broke. And that's very important to know when you're designing a product. Because we do produce different shapes to customer prints, we need a way to measure that. Standard micrometer will not give you certain things. So one of the things we have is an optical comparator where we cut a sample before we start the final pass on the mill, and make sure all the burrs are off, and we mount it under the microscope here. Once we put it get it projected onto the screen, we have to line it up so that we can take the measurements that we need. So we move the sample over until it's on a line as a point of reference. From there, we take a micrometer reading, move it in until it intersects the root of the striation, take another micrometer reading, subtract the two, and that gives us the depth of that groove. And from that, we determine whether or not it meets the customer specification. From that, the operator goes back to his mill and makes any adjustments that he needs to, brings another sample back, checks it, and then once he's got it set properly, he runs.
Ulbrich Wire produces 4 primarily different specialty shapes. We have a rectangular, square, half round, and intrinsic shapes. The equipment and rolls that are utilized determine which ones of these particular shapes we're going to make. I would like to show you some of these shapes. One of the shapes that we produce is blender blade. The blender blade is made from strip product. It is made with two rolls. The material is rolled between the 2 rolls like this, and then the top roll will go on top of that particular product. A couple of more intrinsic shapes we make are made from round wire. The first shape that I would like to show you is a gasket material shape. It is made with a corrugated type of effect. This particular shape is made with 4 rolls, the top and bottom roll, and then there's 2 rolls that lock this particular material in, and then this material is rolled in between here. Another shape that we make is referred to as the dog bone. This is used in jet aircraft engines, and like the corrugated material is rolled between 4 different rolls.
In this session of the Ulbrich Way, you learned about our wire division and how it started as a result of customer demand for wire form products rather than strip. We showed you how we produce round, flat, and shaped wire, and you have seen some of the end products that use our wire. We discussed how our new products team and how they evaluate ongoing orders, as well as how they develop new business. We discussed some of the dimensions that we can roll wire and to the types of rolls that we use to shape the wire. You have seen some of the tests that we are performing on the wire and that we certify each coil before shipping. Ulbrich Wire Shaping the Future, and to coin a phrase from the Strategic CEO book written by Michel Robert, we have a solution looking for a problem.
Thanks for being with us for this session of the Ulbrich Way. We hope it has helped your understanding of your company. Your session leader will now conduct a short discussion of this subject. If your questions don't seem to be answered in this discussion, or if you have some ideas or suggestions of your own, you can call or write to us directly at the number shown on the screen. We hope you enjoyed watching, and we look forward to being with you again for another session of the Ulbrich Way.